We present you incredible homes week after week, and there are 5 that really stood out. Welcome to the Top 5 Interior Insights series, where we present you the top 5 homes you love the most. Today's pick, a Scandinavian loft defined by its clean lines, light and color. I love how it balances calm minimalism with true elegance. Each episode reveals why design speaks to so many of you. Also, go and subscribe right now so you make sure to not miss any of your most loved episodes. Hi guys, welcome to Interior Insights. Today we are going to look at a beautiful 100 square meter apartment in the center of Hamburg that has been renovated by a couple who bought this apartment when it was basically a ruin. Somebody had lived here for over 80 years and smoked throughout this entire time. So the apartment was completely covered in black, oily nicotine film. And this is how they remodeled it. So as we enter, we can already see that this apartment really just extends into a lot of different rooms. The building was built in 1903, which is why we just have this really beautiful old building with a very modern design. The beauty of these old buildings is the fact that you always have a lot of really beautifully structured old elements, such as the window frames or the door frames, or the beautiful plaster moldings in the ceiling, or this beautiful rosette on top of the lamps. And one thing that I didn't know that I think is actually really interesting is that here, where you can see the wall, there actually used to be a window. Because if you look closely, you can see that actually a window is missing. And this is a phenomenon that you actually find in a lot of old historic buildings around Hamburg. Because a long time ago, people actually had to pay taxes for the amount of windows that they had. So often the owners would cover up 1 or 2 bit windows. And this is the exact same thing that has been done here, that actually a window has been covered up. Boring, random, overwhelming. That's how most homes feel when color isn't used right. When people approach me, mostly they actually ask how to properly use color, and everybody always has the same questions. So I'm building a mini color course that will guide you step by step through the topic and problems that come with choosing the right color and creating a cohesive color palette, and it will make you really confident all problems color related. Get first access and a bonus lesson if you join the free waitlist, either through the QR code or in the link in the description. So we are already right now in the living room. The colors of the living room are very muted. You have this really beautiful pastel light green that really creates a very calming atmosphere. And you can see that the color of the green walls really correspond beautifully to the trees that we have outside. You just have this melange of different colored greens, and you can find this green color throughout the design. What I really love about the way that the color has been used, not only do the different types of rooms seamlessly flow into each other, like I said, this is the living room and you can just walk right to the kitchen, but also the color stays the same, but it changes slightly. We can see that the design language really consists of simple square geometry paired with a lot of round accents. And this really breaks up the design and creates a much more fluffy and light design. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram, where we post a lot of behind the scenes content and more interior design stories you won't find anywhere else. And when they bought this place and they uncovered it, they didn't actually know that here you would actually find these beautiful historic doors that are over 100 years old. If you have the possibility to live in a beautiful historic place, that doesn't mean that you have to stick to the old architecture, but rather through modern elements and through modern design, you can really enhance the old architecture and yet create something unique and something new. So for example, here, like I said, we have the Vitra chair. Here we have these really classical, modern, mid-century chairs. Through the contrast of these old and new pieces, you really have this just beautiful and unique mix that really represents what your personal design taste is like. We have all of these Werner Panton lamps, and we can find them repeated throughout the space, and they really add like a sense of cohesion throughout the designs. I love it always if you don't have just one lamp, but if you have 2 or 3 lamps. And here the living room seamlessly opens itself up to the kitchen. And I love the fact that they just opened the space up and just created this really symmetrical entrance that really connects the 2 spaces in a very grand gesture, rather than just having like a small door on the side. And then you just have this perfect line, this perfect long kitchen block. So here we have a more darker green that acts as a more neutral and more of a calmer backsplash for the kitchen. Everything in this apartment is really minimalistic and every detail has been thought through. The owners build a lot of things by themselves, so everything is really built in. You can just really feel that everything has been really properly done. What I love about this kitchen is the fact that it is just one single block that spreads from one side of the wall to the other side of the wall. So it's like a really bold but yet simple statement. And you have 3 beautiful lamps on top of the kitchen that really frame the space. We have a lot of really fun posters, such as these 2, that really integrate fruits and vegetables into the kitchen. In the kitchen we have just perfect compositions, such as the brown color of the farm table and the pink accent of the Werner Panton lamp. And again, we have all of these like beautiful green accents of the dark green wall. When they owned that underneath the old carpet that used to be inside this apartment, you actually had beautiful spruce wood hiding underneath. And well, they took away the carpet, and now they just have this newly, perfectly spruce wood wooden floor that is over 100 years old, and these days it's impossible to get exactly this type of wood. And another thing that's really cool is in the bathroom they actually use the wooden beams to create a unique piece of furniture. Here again we can see that you just have these beautiful door frames that just make the entry and exit from any room really unique and beautiful. So one of the owners has a really big talent for working with wood. He actually created a lot of the pieces, the wooden cabinets that you can find here by himself. Here we have just this beautiful big wooden cabinet that really frames the hallway and yet adds a lot of storage space that just like completely hides away all of your clutter. So if you walk through the hallway, you just have this big airy empty hallway, but because of this giant cabinet that goes all the way to the top, you still have a lot of storage space to hide away everything that you have. What I love about this hallway is also the use of lighting. So they didn't shy away from, again, framing the hallway with 2 beautiful sconces and add very geometric touches. The kitchen and the living room were both in 2 different shades of green. And here the color switches to a blue. As you move from one room into the next, the color changes and also the mood slightly changes. And if we go right directly to the office is actually beige, but it looks really pink while you're in the hallway because of the contrast. Here again, we have a very inbuilt interior design. Rather than having like a lot of small closets and cupboards and a lot of small pieces, you just have these big statement pieces that really ground the space. You aren't overwhelmed by your senses because you don't have like 5 small cupboards standing here. And I think that that's always a really good idea. This is a Luby softline sleeping sofa, which is really cool because I feel like it looks really modern and sleek, and it extends into a guest bedroom if you have guests staying over. And over here we have the home office, which is also very minimalist, but you can just see in all of the details how much thought was put into every single piece of furniture that we can find here. In front of me we have a beautiful balcony that extends into the garden, and you just have a piece of outside and nature framed by the big windows. And I feel like balconies, even if it's just a small balcony, they just add so much quality of life to any space because you just have more of a connection to outside. And again, in this room we have like a really muted color palette, whereas in the living room we had more of calms, greens and blues. Here we have really dark and warm muted colors. I feel like all of the rooms in this apartment have their like really personal atmosphere and like personality. So when you enter them, you feel a certain way, you feel a certain sense of coziness, comfortness. Now we will go inside the bedroom. This bedroom again is a vintage dream that you can just wish it was yours. We have this beautiful space of I think around 6 to 6 meters, which is a perfect size for bedrooms. This is what you always learn. As a wall color, you just have this really muted beige that really creates a very like earthy and grounding atmosphere. Again, we have the beautiful dark brown spruce wooden floor. So in the center of the bedroom, you have of course the bed. To both sides of the bed, you have simple yet beautiful bedside tables that are framed by these black light sculptures. And I think that this is just really sleek. And opposite of the bed, you have again a perfectly symmetric repetition of two cupboards that have been connected to create like a sideboard. They created a perfect composition that you could just take a picture of and it would be perfect. Another thing I really love is if people manage to incorporate their personal identity and just their personal, basically, life story into their designs. One of the owners is a school teacher. So the owner really managed to incorporate her identity of being a school teacher into the design. So here we have a really old vintage school chair that again really tells your personal story, and I just really love that if that happens. Over here we have a beautiful lamp, and again here we have just a massive inbuilt closet that just really like fades away into the background. For your perception, it almost acts like a wall. You feel like there's nothing hiding here, but it's just really about making simple but really big and profound gestures. Those are what really create like this calming atmosphere. Now we will go inside the bathroom. This is the bathroom. It is very minimalist, clean. The colors are all mostly grays and whites. You just have really beautiful light because of this beautiful sconce. I love it. I once already saw this lamp in the Milan Design Week and was just obsessed with it because it's really just like a light bulb. So here we have an inbuilt shower that really just hides itself away from the bathroom and that just creates yet a room inside the bathroom. Here we have an oval mirror. I told you before that the owners of this place used the spruce beams of the apartment to create a really unique piece of furniture. And this is it.